with Love Meghan is so incredibly mundane. Just quite honestly, it is so boring and plain and basic. I have combined episodes 6 and 7 into the same review because there was just not enough in these episodes. There is not enough here to make separate recaps. It's also boring, also plain, same mistakes over and over and over, and the presentation of the content, quite simply, is lacking in almost every way. Though Claire, the guest of episode 6, is incredibly accomplished and interesting, the format of the show tears us away from her process, and her cooking so frequently in order to feature the Meg, look at her face, look at her doing something, look at her watching Claire, look at her making Claire a freaking bag of socks. Like, we get torn away from Claire so frequently that any interest that we have in Claire and her expertise gets snuffed out, and the whole episode just putters along on fumes. This is part of the problem with the way that they structured these episodes, because normal cookery shows that are more instructional, you get to watch the whole process and you get more of the process. And that's what makes it interesting for people who are interested in cooking. To constantly cut away to Meghan doing nothing, just watching by the sidelines or talking about herself, or cut away to her doing something completely unrelated to the cooking, it ruins the momentum and the pace of the episode. At the start, she makes a travel bag for Claire that feels more like a contest to come across as superior, just the absolute most thoughtful to ever walk the earth. It feels like an act because it's so incredibly contrived, abnormal, and over the top. She makes an iron-on bag that says, "Safe Travels Claire," in her spindly cursive writing. And she puts monogrammed socks, slightly creepy thing to do, and a few things for the plane, like some spritzes and stuff. What is this for the viewer? What is this to us as viewers? If not a narcissistic brag moment, it is completely pointless and ridiculous. Also, Claire is a well-off woman. She is traveling. She is a full-grown woman. If she wants socks for an airplane or spritzes or an eye mask, she has it already. Not to say that gifts like that aren't nice, but they are weird for somebody who is an acquaintance, more of a professional relationship. Claire is the chef who catered her wedding. It's not a personal friend. This is super weird to gift her these types of things. It makes sense to gift like around a birthday or a holiday, maybe, if you see the person. But it doesn't really fully make sense to me to gift it to this person who's coming to basically work, to be on your show. It's not a favor. These people are getting paid for their time and their trip. Once again, the guest is leading the episode. This season, they have taken post-production editing into hyperdrive and flipped this entire episode and all the episodes so that it appears much less about Meghan and leaves in a lot more from the chefs, which, to be fair, is an improvement, but it's still not quite enough. For her part, Claire is completely polite and proper, but also notably unamused with the Meg at times. She doesn't indulge Meghan as much as other guests. It almost feels like she regrets coming as soon as she gets there. Meghan got very hung up on her American versus Claire's British pronunciation of words, which got a little out of hand. It wasn't playful or charming because, as I said, Claire didn't come across as amused by this because, duh, who makes that like a point of conversation? How weird. And it also feels like low-hanging fruit, like you can't think of anything else better to say or chat about besides, "Oh, do you call that aluminium?" Claire's like, "Tinfoil." Most importantly, poor etiquette. It ended up coming across a little bit rude at points. She didn't do this for guests who had Latino accents, so what is she on about in this episode with Claire? It's weird, and it almost felt like mocking at one point. It was kind of uncomfortable to watch. But the next episode begins in the most irritating fashion. I cannot deal. She begins by packing her bag for a weekend in Malibu with her friend Heather. She's laying out her outfits and toiletries. She's putting dryer sheets in every layer. She's saying that it's important to wear things that can be worn together. What is happening? Why why is this in this episode? Stop. Please, this is so dumb to put in a TV show. This proves my theory that I said way back at the beginning of the year. Meghan wanted a reality show about her, a la the Kardashians. Something like that. She just wanted a reality show, a follow me around living my boring life show. And it wasn't going to fly. Either the network knew that was a mistake and Meghan was too boring, or Harry put his foot down and said, absolutely not. I don't want the kids or me involved in something like that. How tacky. So she settled for this, which is a reality show under the guise of a lifestyle cookery content show. The cooking, gardening, crafting, hostessing angle is just a cover for the Meg to feel important, to be the center of attention of the crew, and have a version close to a reality show about her. The purpose of With Love Meghan is for Meghan to be seen. That is why we have stupid shit like her packing a suitcase. And this also proves why this show is so terrible and reviewed so poorly universally by all respected reviewers, critics. The consensus online is that With Love Meghan sucks. And this proves why. She's not got enough personality to carry a show about her. You know what I mean? Like, she needed something to make a show work. Like, she couldn't have a show just about her doing her normal life stuff. Like, talking about packing clothes and outfits and laying it out so you don't forget anything on your trip. That's not good TV, okay? It's not. No one cares. And so they had to be like, oh, well, we'll make it cooking and hosting people to make it work. Because just a show about you doing this stupid stuff won't work. I struggled to proceed with the rest of episode 7 and on to episode 8. After seeing it open with her packing a bag, I was like about to lose my mind. I have to be honest. But then she bakes cookies. And remember, she confessed in season 1 that she doesn't even like to bake. So why is she baking? Why is she selling cookie mix if she doesn't even like to bake? What is happening? But it's clear that she doesn't like to bake. It's obvious with her lack of skill. When you cook and bake a lot, it shows. It comes through in an ease of how you handle ingredients and kitchen tools and equipment and move about your kitchen. How you handle utensils. It has a flow to it and an ease to it that shows as an experienced baker or cook. And that is completely absent with Meghan. It's clear that she doesn't cook or bake very often in just the way she moves in this space. Also, she does not use a scale, and if you're going to bake, it's best to use a scale. Anywho, they clearly just ran out of content to put into these episodes because she spends like 10 whole minutes talking about what's going to happen in that episode, who Heather is, what they used to do, what happens in LA, what happens when she goes to LA, what are they going to do in LA, what are they going to do in Malibu, missing the point entirely of what would make an interesting TV show. And what you're supposed to do with TV shows is show these things. Show us who Heather is. Show us what you're doing in LA. Show us what you're doing in Malibu. Do not just tell us while you're driving in the car. And that's what makes me think that they had such a small amount of footage to begin with. And of that, an even smaller amount, they had such a little amount of actually usable footage. A big chunk of it was unusable because it was just unappealing, or Meghan droning on about herself again, or telling us the same story over and over again for whatever reason. And so they had to fill up this episode with just explaining stuff in the car. Then she spends time explaining to us how shower bombs work, as if no one knows. We all know what a shower bomb is and how it works, Meghan. It is no different from a bath bomb. What is happening? They should have just cut this whole episode out because they spent all the time just explaining stuff that was dumb. This episode had so much of Meghan just explaining stuff. And Meghan's nasty little habit of thinking the entire world revolves around her also snuck out in this episode. They went to learn from a mixologist at a bar. Meghan asked a question. Shocker, I know. She said, "How did you get into mixology?" And he says, "Good question. I was a lawyer in New York City." She interrupts this man She interrupts his answer to the question she asked him and says, "Did you watch Suits?" He's like, no, I don't watch basic cable, and that's why I don't know who the heck you are.
How did you get into mixology?
How did I get it? That's a very good question. So I was a lawyer in New York, and
Did you watch Suits?
no. I don't watch basic cable.
And her awkward, over-the-top laugh cannot hide the embarrassment. Does she think that all lawyers have seen Suits? Is that what she thinks? What world does she live in? Not this one, because Suits was a D-team show. I never watched it, ever. And nobody I know watched it. It was so ridiculous. The secondhand embarrassment was so bad. But just, who does that? Who? There's no helping Meghan. If she is still doing stuff like that, that poor man. There's no hope. Anyway, they make some drinks, and that's that. There was no cooking in this episode, just her not super appetizing thumbprint cookies. That's all the food that was made in this episode. So no wonder they had to spend so much time just explaining things. This episode was empty. These ladies were just sitting around hyping up the fact that they made time for themselves as the episode ended. I can't take it. Critics delivered soul-crushing reviews of Meghan Markle's Netflix Season 2 as they dub it painfully contrived with a cast of nano-celebrities, labeling Meghan as needy and narcissistic in her second attempt at small-screen stardom. Liz Jones branded the new season as staged, fake, and dull, but unlike other critics, commended Meghan for being genuinely earnest. I'm not sure I caught that vibe. During the show, back in episode 1, Meghan failed to be authentic. She admitted to chef Christina Tosi, "Usually I don't like baking because it's so measured." Her own range of As Ever products, however, includes ready-made shortbread cookies and crepes with pre-measured amounts. People found it grating and deeply self-indulgent. It's all staged and fake, of course. It's again filmed in a hired house near her home in Montecito, but then so is Nigella. And while you just know Nigella has a core of steel, Meghan really is this gosh. She calls bread making moving meditation and means it. One reviewer said the setup was as impersonal as a supermarket ad, despite Meghan claiming in an interview with Bloomberg that she has returned to her authentic self in recent years, someone she just couldn't be a few years back. But next up, we are finally to episode 8. So be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and if you'd like to catch up, I'll link the playlist for you. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!